get this on that San Francisco train tonight.
Another minute and you'd have been too late. I ain't never gonna get caught up.
You keep trying, you hear? Colonel Ashby.
I didn't kill him.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. You ready to go back to work now? Barley's heading out. Alfalfa's ready to be cut. 16 colts just waiting to be broke. I do hope you can spare us a few moments of your time.
Well, I'm ready. I'd sooner clean out the stables than testify at that inquest anymore.
Then it's all over.
They brought in an indictment of first-degree murder last night. It's all over but the hanging.
Corby Kyles for Colonel Ashby. One of the most despicable men in our community, taken in exchange for one of the most charitable, beloved men. Not a very fair exchange.
If I had my way, I'd kick Jake Kyles and all three of his sons clean out of this valley. That bunch is worse than a wagon load of barbed wire.
Sorry I'm late.
Audra?
Well, good morning, Audra. Good morning. Audra. All this work going on around this ranch, I suppose you've been out dancing the moon down.
Well, you're welcome to suppose all you like.
You know, as soon as these odd jobs are through, maybe we ought to commence riding herd on our little sister.
I'll have you know I was up at 6 o'clock this morning and picked up the plans for the orphanage for the meeting this afternoon.
With Colonel's murder, you don't suppose that Mrs. Ashby will change her mind about donating that land, do you?
Well, Mrs. Ashby told the committee that the children shouldn't suffer because of his death.
I'm sorry, just ain't on board you.
I want to do some talking.
Jake Kyles, you get out of here.
Nick,
Can't
Nick.
take much of your time, Victoria.
Get those hats off.
And just after asking a simple favor from an old friend. Never asked the Bartleys for nothing before except to be left alone. That's the way we've been with everybody in this whole valley. Up till now.
All right. What favor can we do for you?
I've been all over town. Ain't a lawyer anywhere that'll even touch my boy's case. They're either afraid of Ashby's name or mad at Kyle's. Jared, he ain't afraid. He's pretty fair with them legal speeches. I'd like to hire him on. You willing?
Now, Jake, you think about the reasons those lawyers turned you down. It's probably because they don't believe your son's plea that he's innocent.
'Cause ain't a one of them will even listen to his side. Jared, you're my last hope. I wouldn't have asked you neither if it weren't for the fact that your daddy and me came to this valley together.
A member of my family is the prime witness against your son.
I thought of that, too. But it ain't as if he's a real member of the Barkley family.
Nick. Now, Jake, I'll try and overlook that remark. But you understand this. I'll not accept your case.
You're always yapping it up about justice. But when it comes to action, you're like all the rest of them do-gooders do nothing. I'm telling you, the real knife stickers in this town are the high and mighty mucky-mucks like the Bartleys.
Jake, that'll be enough.
Now, you heard Gerard's answer. Don't make it any worse.
All right, you see to it he keeps his nose out of our business. And see that he don't tell any more lies about my own son.
Mr. Cowles, I don't take to anybody calling me a liar.
And I'm telling you, you're testifying against Corby makes you one.
Get out.
Get out of here, Jake, before we forget you're an old man. Now move.
Come on, Paul.
All right, let's finish breakfast.
I'm sorry for what he said.
Thanks, sis.
I'm sure if Jacob really tries, he'll find a competent lawyer.
What difference does it make?
Well, sometimes it has been known to make the difference between a verdict of guilty and innocent.
But he caught him red-handed.
And it's high-low, Jack, and the game, right?
Right. Good afternoon, Counselor.
Jared.
Clem, how are you?
Fine. Good to see you. Say, I owe your brother Heath a drink for testifying at the inquest.
He's a prosecutor's dream. Thank you, sir.
Would appear so, but, you know, too bad it cost an Ashby to get rid of a Kyles.
Tell me, Clem, is it true that Jacob Kyles can't get anyone to defend his son?
Oh, I hear tell he's been asking around. But unless Corby decides to change his plea to guilty, I don't think he's going to have much luck. Why are you asking?
Oh, it's just that he finally got around to asking me.
Oh.
No, sir. Never a Kyle set foot in this shop. Them so shaggy-eared, they ought to pay double dog taxes. I ain't complaining. I wouldn't want to dull my shears on any of them. Colonel Ashby. Well, they broke the mold when they made him. It's a grand funeral. I shaved him. Quick hanging would be a community service. Set a simple black-tongued example for the rest of them. You ought to hamstring the whole crew of them. Ought to tie 'em up in a cave, clean 'em out once and for all from the land of civilized people. The only thing, hanging won't bring the colonel back. But at least he wouldn't be able to kill anybody else, that's for certain.
Nice talking to you, Slim.
Thank you, Miss Barkley. Been nice talking to you. Next.
Kyles are a menace to our community. The record shows a history of 14 individual arrests during this past year alone. Corby Kyles himself has been charged with drunkenness, destruction of private property, conspiring to defraud, assault with a deadly weapon, and now we know him to be the lowest of all human beings, a murderer. Don't you think this editorial is just a little prejudicial?
You call it prejudicial. I call it the truth.
Tell me, George, are all writers so emotional? Or is it just that lawyers are too objective?
Jared, I don't understand you. Your own brother is living proof of Kyle's guilt.
Oh, I'm well aware of the case against it. I just wonder if you'd print anything for him. Hello, Audra. Well, who are your little friends?
But these are some of the children whose parents were lost in the epidemic. I'm taking them over to Mrs. Bradshaw's house. There's just no room in the old orphanage. Children, why don't you go on to Mr. Perkins' store and tell him I said to give you each a licorice stick? Jared?
Hmm?
about the Corby Kyles case.
What makes you say that?
Because I heard what you said to George Allison.
Oh. Well, I just don't like it when a newspaper condemns a man before he's even been tried. After all, it might be one of my clients sometime.
You're not thinking of changing your mind and taking the case.
The last thing in this world I want to do is defend Corby Kyles. Anyway, that's nothing for you to be worried about.
Yes, it is. How do you think Mrs. Ashby's going to feel about being associated in the orphanage with us if you defend the man who murdered her husband?
Now, Audra, Corby Kyles might be guilty, but...
Might be guilty? He saw him do it. That's proof enough. Jerry, you've got to promise me you won't take the case.
I'm sorry, honey. I can't make you that promise.
Now you see what I've been doing all year. The new orphanage is going to be as perfect as I can get it. Here are the sleeping quarters, and this is the infirmary we're giving the money for. The pantry, the kitchen, the dining room.
What else do these kids do besides eat?
They wash and dry dishes.
Well, I wouldn't think they'd have time between meals.
Oh, don't you worry. They study harder than most children.
All right, I'm sold. Anything I can do, you tell me. Excuse me, sis. Well, you're home early. Town lost its charm?
No, town's fine.
Well, Audra seems to think you're going to commence a war against her.
Audra jumps to conclusions.
Jared, if you knew a man was guilty, would you defend him?
Only to save his life by pleading for mercy. Especially if there were extenuating circumstances.
But if he claims he's innocent?
Well, that would depend on whether I could believe him or not.
Do you believe Corby Kyles killed Colonel Ashby?
Heath, the more everyone hangs him in advance, the more I wonder about it.
I saw him, Jared. You think I made it up?
No, of course not.
But you still think there's a possibility that Kyles didn't do it?
At this moment, yes. There's a shadow of possible, but not probable doubt. Even though you sincerely believe you saw him do it.
All right. Then I want to make it clear that you don't turn him down on my account.
Thanks, Heath. But that's the cart before the horse. I haven't even talked to the party in question yet. Morning, Fred. Well, I see they're keeping you busy.
No, they ain't. And that's what I like about this job. What can I do for you, Jared?
I want to see Kyles.
What do you want with him?
Maybe offer to draw up his will. Can I see him?
Come on ahead and waste your time. You ain't got nothing worth leaving as far as I can see. Kyles, you got a visitor.
Well, looky here. A high and mighty Barkley has come to lord it over a poor old Kyles. Well, I didn't bow for your brother, and I ain't gonna bow for you, and I ain't gonna bow for nobody else in this coyote town. And I'll tell you something else, mister. I'm gonna gnaw your hanging rope in two, and I'm gonna come and get you. And your brother, and that stinking sheriff, and everybody else that's a-crowing over me right now.
You refuse to testify at the inquest. Does that mean you're going to plead guilty?
I mean, what difference does it make? I ain't got no lawyer to prove otherwise.
All right, Corby. Did you do it?
And what if I say yes?
Then I want to know if you're going to plead guilty.
Why?
Because a lawyer might be able to save your life.
My pa said you wouldn't have nothing to do with me.
Your paw might be wrong.
There's something scratching the ear of crawl there, mister. Coming on them cheap maybes. Well, maybe I'm guilty and maybe I'm not.
Which is it?
What if I said I'm not for sure? What then? Of course I'm not. And I gotta a good notion to tell the whole world about this town. It's full of tall, doggy stuffed shirts. They know when I'm around, good as the Kyles. And believe me, mister, I've seen both sides of it.
Corby, if I thought you'd level.
You Barclays, you ain't got enough to railroad me. So you come here to shut me up, huh?
I came down here to consider your case. Now, if you don't want even that, then at least I've satisfied my conscience that I tried.
Well, hold on a minute. Keep shirt on. I mean, hog, dog, or devil, I got to have me a lawyer.
All right, then, you tell me the truth. Plain and simple.
You wouldn't know the truth. You run over it in the street.
Try me.
All right, you want to know about your high and mighty, rich, respectable Colonel Ashby? He had 2 suits. One of them was clean and one of them was dirty. You want to know how he got his real money? He got it from opium.
You're lying. And let me tell you that that kind of talk is only going to dig you in deeper than you are already.
I figured you'd say that. Colonel Ashby was the middleman for the whole of Central California. All I did was carry the stuff to the buyers like the Hipsu tongue. And that's what was going on back there in that alley. It was the payoff from the head Chinaman. It was one of them Chinamans that killed him, not me.
Can you identify that Chinaman?
No, I can't identify them. They all look alike to me. Like I told you, all I do is carry the stuff. The payoff comes direct. So there I was, back there in that dark alley. I'd come to get my money for my day's work. And I see Colonel Ashby, and I seen a man behind him. And so I yelled to the colonel, "Look out, Colonel!" And he turned around, and that's when the Chinaman, he done it. So I go over to this poor man, and I pull a knife out of him, and I chase that Chinaman. And that's when your brother, he jumped me. Oh, what's the difference? You ain't gonna believe me, 'cause I ain't nothing but a Kyles.
There's one difference. If your story is true, it will ruin the reputation of one of the most respected men in this state.
Well, that's his fault, not mine.
My brother testified that he saw you stab Colonel Ashby.
And I told you I didn't do it. He's seen a Chinaman, not me. And I swear that on my mother's grave.
Your story is so bad, I'm almost tempted to believe it.
Well, thanks, Jared.
Don't you ever call me Jared.
Is it true?
What?
You're going to defend Kyles?
No. But it's true I'm thinking about it.
You're going to think yourself right into a hole, brother. The more you think, the deeper you're going to get.
No, Nick, I'd say it's more like treading water. Looking for a bottom that should be there, but isn't.
Well, I just don't see feeling sorry for Kyles. They came here with the same chances our parents did. The same kind of land. And enough land to keep 3 boys out of the trouble that they're always in.
Look, why don't you give some of that good advice about how to run their place to them?
Because it's none of my business giving advice to people that don't want it. Jared, how long has it been since you've been out to Kyle's place?
A long time. Why?
Well, why don't you take a ride out there? Maybe you can find that bottom you're looking for.
Jake.
Right down, Barkley. I don't look up to folks when I talk.
Doesn't bother me either way.
Say your piece.
Tell me, Jake, why do you let a good farm go like this?
It's mine. Suits me. I'm a free man. Beholden to nobody.
You figure the less work you do, the freer you are?
You feeling extra proud because you got all your buildings covered in white paint? There's worms under that paint. Shoot. I knew the Barkleys when they was kind of dirty. And kind of neighborly. Let that be now.
Morning, boys.
But you didn't come all the way over here just to insult me. Maybe you came over to tell me your so-called brother decided against testifying.
No, I'm afraid not, Jake. I just came over here to see if you're having any better luck getting a lawyer for Corby.
None. You all are the same stripe. Soon as one of you hears a Kyle's within 18 miles of a crime, you right away figure it's him what done the dirty work.
Well, what would you say if they were within just a few feet, Jake? All right, boys, I want those silver conchas in my hand right now.
You got them conchas, Emmett?
No, Pa, I ain't got him. We was just standing here admiring his horse and saddle.
Hey, there you go, accusing my boys.
Well, now, suppose we take it on the evidence, Jake. Those silver conchas were on that saddle when I rode in here. Now they're gone.
Well, that don't prove nothing.
Hand them over.
Get away from me. Let go! Let go of me! I didn't do it! I didn't do it! Oh.
Seems what everybody says about this family is true. You've never known an honest day's work or an honest dollar.
Just a minute, Barkley. You don't seem to know a joke when it's played on you.
Corby, a joke, too?
Hold on now. Takes a brain like a slippery water snake to blame Corby for them boys' foolishness. Besides, Corby's my burden, not yours.
And you seem to be doing everything in your power to keep it that way, Jake. You know, I think I'd recognize that perfume in the middle of a desert sandstorm. My, you look as lovely as summertime itself.
Thank you.
What brings you to town?
Oh, the place to discuss law is in the lawyer's office, not at a breakfast table.
Very well, madam. Would you please state your legal problem?
Jared, there's nothing in the law that says a lawyer has to defend any special person. I mean, a lawyer has the right to refuse the case if he so chooses.
If he has a good enough reason. No, there's nothing in the law that mentions he has to defend any special person. But when a lawyer takes his oath, he swears to defend justice and the Constitution.
Audra says the committee believes that Mrs. Ashby will change her mind about giving the land to the home if you defend Corby Kyles.
Yes, I've heard that. But in theory, that should have no bearing on the case.
If you do take the case, that means you will attempt to discredit Heath's testimony.
If I take the case.
Jared, from the day Heath came to us, he's had to prove to the people in this valley that he's the equal of anyone, that his word counts no less than any other Barkley.
Oh, Mother, don't you think I've thought about that? You know I don't want to hurt Heath, but he's told me he doesn't want to influence my decision either.
Nonetheless, you will hurt him.
Yes. So that puts me nicely in the middle, doesn't it?
Sure.
I promise you, I will carefully consider everything you've said to me.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think you'd like to know that the judge requested Matt Cooper to defend Kyles, and Cooper agreed.
Are you sure of that?
Yes, sir.
Well, amen to that problem.
The usual tempest in the teapot, hmm?
I'll see you at dinner. Well, I must say I admire your courage, Matt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Barkley, but I'm not really sticking my neck out. You see, the judge promised to send a personal note to Mrs. Ashby explaining the court's position in having to assign a lawyer when the defendant couldn't get one, and my obligation to accept the assignment.
Still, you could have found an excuse to get out of it.
Well, since the judge protected my future, I was glad to get a chance to have the experience.
Well, I admire your honesty. Good luck, Matt.
Mr. Barkley, losing this case, do you think that can hurt my career?
Not if you do a good job. What makes you think you're going to lose it before you've even begun your preparation?
Well, I talked to Kyles. He's guilty. You can see it in his eyes. He's a killer.
Oh, I'm bushed. You figure to work on that all night, do you?
I want to get it fixed right.
Sure you won't need any help.
No, it's just about through, Nick.
Well, I'm going out to bed. I'll see you in the morning. Night.
Night.
Right there, boy. I'd just as soon blast you down as look at you.
What do you want?
We aim to help you learn your testifying.
I don't need any help.
Maybe you best just say you was minding your own business the night Ashby got himself killed.
Yeah. You couldn't see who it was anyways, could you?
I could see.
Just don't you tie in Corby Kyles with no knife, no alley, no killing.
I caught Corby red-handed.
You're wrong, mister. Maybe dead wrong.
You don't want to get your family into trouble, do you?
If it takes burning out that fancy house or if it needs killing cows, it'll be done.
And that prissy sister of yours, she could easily end up on a boat to China, and it's a long, long way back.
Bust you! Hit him again, Allen.
You better listen now. Get it right. You testify the wrong way, and we'll come back and put this brand so it'll mark you for life.
What happened? Who did this?
One guess.
Kyles?
It was them. Me and the boys gonna do a little visiting.
Nick, you know better than to play vigilante.
In this case, I wish I didn't.
What'd they say?
They threatened the whole family if I testify against Corby.
I see.
Jared, no one can stop me.
I know that, Heath. And I promise you they'll be punished.
And to think you were considering defending one of them.
Corby is not responsible for what his family does. I'm taking the case.
You can't.
No.
I thought Matt Cooper...
He was. But what chance does a man have when his own lawyer is convinced he's guilty? I have no choice.
Tell me why one of our leading lawyers has taken it upon himself to go against the best interests of the town, his family, and himself?
Well, now, George, I'm happy to learn you're still talking to me. After some of your recent editorials, I was beginning to wonder.
Or is it maybe, now that you've gone over all the evidence firsthand, you're going to advise your client to plead guilty tomorrow?
Maybe. And maybe since I have gone over the evidence firsthand, I've uncovered a few facts that even your newspaper didn't know about.
Here's to success.
And the harvest.
Yeah.
Audrey, you look lovely.
Thank you.
Well, now, Audra, I've been in the county seat and a good many other places, but that's the first time I've ever seen a dress like that.
Sort of resembles that new filly, except you can see more brisket than Pedlock.
Yeah. I do believe it's one of those new horse blankets just came out this year. You've heard about it, Mother. It's supposed to be good for circulation.
Oh, hush up, you farmers. You wouldn't know a fancy dress from a sassafras patch.
Come on, let's have dinner.
Yeah. Any word from Jared?
No, not a word.
Wonder where he is.
Excuse me, Mr. Nick, but Mr. Luke told me to tell you the time has come.
Uh-oh, Cedar Bun's coming full. Excuse me.
You're going to hold her hoof, Nick?
Something like that.
Well, I'll bring you a roast beef sandwich.
Thanks, Heath.
Nick. Karen. Sorry I'm late.
Sharon?
Audra. Heath.
Okay.
Well, I take it it's true. Mrs. Ashby's back down.
And I can't really blame her. So I guess there'll be no new orphans home until we find a new piece of land.
Audra, I guarantee you'll have it.
Oh, it isn't just the land or even the money. It'll take another year to reorganize, and that's another year out of those children's lives.
Honey, it won't be that long. I'll help that committee speed things up every way I can. And until then, believe me, I'm sorry.
Jared, maybe it isn't your fault. Maybe it's just the times that we live in that allow children to suffer so much. Well, whatever it is, I hate it.
Audra.
Jared.
Needless to say, I'll be glad when this trial is over.
You think you got a chance, Jared?
Good one, based on what I've got. Only I've heard that Green has a surprise witness. That worries me.
And I don't.
Heath, you understand that when a lawyer takes a job, he does it any way he can.
No holds barred.
So that means if you can, you're going to turn me upside down and inside out.
That's what it means.
I'll be ready for you.
Your Honor, I intend to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that Colonel Ashby could only have received a fatal wound in the hand of the defendant. Now, Mr. Kiles, when questioned by Mr. Barkley, you stated that this here knife is your personal property.
Yeah, that's my knife. I made that knife myself.
And this knife belongs to you too, doesn't it?
I told you that that's the knife I pulled out of Colonel Ashby's stomach before I chased the Chinaman that stabbed him.
In your testimony, Mr. Kiles, you said you wouldn't own a knife like this. Now, why should we believe you?
Can I show you something?
Order in this courtroom.
Now, do you think I'd own an off-breed toad sticker like that thing there?
I want no more such demonstration in this courtroom, Mr. Kiles. Satisfy yourself with answering the questions.
Well, yes, sir, Judge. I'll answer them.
That'll be all, Mr. Kiles.
Witness dismissed. I'll call your next witness, Mr. Barkley.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Mr. Asa Harmon to the stand, please. Mr. Harmon, would you state your occupation, please?
I'm a special detective employed by Senator Harrison's investigating committee.
And how long have you been so involved?
Just a little over 6 months.
What is the purpose of your investigation?
Legislative restrictions on the importation and sale of harmful drugs.
All right, Mr. Harmon, would you tell us, please, what you know of the connection between Colonel Ashby and Corby Kiles?
Kiles worked for Colonel Ashby. Colonel Ashby was a member of a ring distributing opium to tongs here and in San Francisco.
Order in this court. Continue, Mr. Barkley.
Mr. Harmon, are you saying that Colonel Ashby, a man of spotless reputation, was involved in the narcotics traffic?
Now, he was more than just involved. Colonel Ashby was one of the prime movers.
And according to your information, how long was he involved in this trade?
Objection! You'll not make murder any less repugnant by maligning and slandering the good name of the victim, who's not here to defend himself.
Your Honor, I am merely trying to establish the victim's true occupation in order to show that there might be others with stronger motives to have committed this crime. Now, I deeply regret bringing out this sordid background. However, I am sworn to defend my client by all possible means.
Objection overruled. Please answer the question, Mr. Harmon.
How long was he so involved?
We have records showing that Colonel Ashby has been involved in the narcotics trade for over a period of 20 years.
Then it is credible to believe that he may have made an arrangement to meet somebody else, possibly a member of the Tong, in the alley that night.
Yes, sir, I would say so.
Now, Mr. Harmon, would you tell us, please, what you've been able to find out about the narcotics traffic and how it operates?
Yes, sir. Stuff is imported into this country, diluted, repackaged, and then distributed to various cities and communities. The original investment pays off at about 1,000% profit. The addict becomes a virtual slave to his supplier. Congress is presently working on legislation which will make the public sale of harmful drugs illegal.
You tell him, feller, you tell him. Order.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
You wish to cross-examine Mr. Green?
Thank you, Your Honor. Not at this time.
That'll be all, Mr. Harmon, and thank you. You're dismissed. Are you ready to call your next witness, Mr. Barkley?
I am, Your Honor. I would like to recall Mr. Heath Barkley to the stand.
Court recalls Mr. Heath Barkley to the witness stand. Mr. Barkley, you're aware that having been sworn in before, you're still under oath to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Be seated.
Mr. Barkley, according to your testimony earlier in this trial, you stated that the quarrel you heard from the alley sounded like such a critical matter that you felt you should interfere.
That's correct.
You further stated that upon entering the alley, you saw two men fighting in the shadows, and that when you came close, one man ran away and the other slumped and fell from a knife wound in the abdomen. Is that correct?
That's right.
Can you tell me the location of the nearest street lamp to that alley?
Street lamp? No.
According to my measurements, it's 87 feet away. Over 30 feet from the entrance to that alley. Now, from that distance, that lamp couldn't shed enough light in that alley for a man to see his hand 1 foot in front of his face. And yet you state that you clearly saw Corby Kiles.
He was in the shadows, but I know it was him.
Even in the shadows?
That's what I said.
Now, Mr. Barkley, would you please tell us again everything that happened up to the time just before you entered the alley?
I was walking along and the headlight from the San Francisco Limited passed over me. I heard a man yell and I ran into the alley to see what it was all about. Even though it was dark, I could see in the shadows clearly enough to know that it was Corby Kiles who ran. And Colonel Ashby who'd been stabbed.
You're sure?
I am.
Sure enough to put a noose around the defendant's neck?
Yes, I got no reason to lie.
I'm not suggesting you're lying, merely that you're mistaken when you state that you clearly saw Corby Kiles running away.
And I say you're dead wrong.
And I intend to prove you're mistaken by showing you the shadows that you saw into were purely imaginary.
They weren't imaginary.
Now, you're out of order, Mr. Barkley. Now, if you speak out again, I'll order you out of this courtroom. Continue.
Can you tell me what kind of a moon there was that night?
No, I don't recall what kind of moon there was.
Very likely. Your Honor, I hold here in my hand a newspaper, which I'll submit later in evidence, which clearly states that there was no moon that night. And if there was no moon, there was no light. And if there was no light, there were no shadows. So you would have had to recognize Corby Kiles in what virtually amounts to total darkness. Now, I submit to you that this is really what happened. From the sounds you heard in the alley, it was clear to you that somebody had stabbed Colonel Ashby and run away. Now, you chased after that man in the total darkness, and you stumbled on Corby Kiles. And putting his reputation together with what had happened in the alley, you assumed that it was Corby who had done the stabbing. Now, having assumed that much, your imagination took you one step further. It led you to believe that you saw more in that dark alley than it was humanly possible to see. Now, I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you absolutely sure it was Corby Kiles you saw and that it could not have been somebody else?
No. I guess I'm not sure after all.
That'll be all.
Any further questions, Mr. Green?
None, Your Honor.
I guess they're going to have to let me go, right?
Your chances look pretty good.
Your Honor, I would like to call one more witness at this time. Mr. Henry Bingham. Mr. Bingham, You're a train engineer in the Northern Division, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, where were you this month? On the night of the 15th at 11:30 p.m.
I was just heading number 9 out for San Francisco. I was a couple of minutes late.
Did you know Colonel Ashby?
I'd seen him up and down the line for years.
Now, Mr. Bingham, would you please tell the court in your own words exactly what you saw that night as your train left the station?
Yes, sir. I just cleared the last switch and was watching ahead. And straight into the light of my engine, I seen these 2 men fighting in the alley.
Well, now, how long did the light from your engine shine on the fight?
Couldn't say for certain, but it was long enough to see them both clear.
Well, go on, Mr. Bingham. Tell us, who did you see?
The one that was well-dressed I recognized right off as Colonel Ashby. The other one I recognized at the same time.
What was the other man wearing?
Farmhand dress is the best I can tell you.
Well, now, Mr. Bingham, I can readily understand how you might have recognized Colonel Ashby right off, but how can you be so sure of this other man?
I saw his face real clear, and I'd know his face from any other in a second.
Oh, well, now, why is that?
I'd seen him many times hanging around the station when I was changing trains. Never knew his name, but I'd never forget his face.
Mr. Bingham, why is it taking you so long to come back here to testify?
When I read about Heath Barkley catching him red-handed, why, I figured it was cut and dried, without my having to come down here to say my piece. Then I read about the trial going on, and I sent the telegram.
Could you make him shut up? Could you make him shut up?
Mr. Bingham, about the man you saw that night fighting with Colonel Ashby in the alley. Is he, here in the courtroom?
He is.
Would you, point him out, please?
I'll kill him. I swear to you, I want to kill him.
That's him. The man you call Corby Kyles.
He didn't do it. He didn't. What do you mean? You couldn't have seen me. I mean, nobody could have seen me do it. No, nobody could have seen me do it, huh?
All right. I'd like to propose a little toast. Here's to Big Brother, who it seems is capable of making one of the biggest mistakes possible.
Audrey, do you know what mistake he's talking about?
No, I don't. Maybe you know, Nick.
Beats me. Mother, do you know what mistake Jared's talking about?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Well, Jared, how about dinner?
Dinner? Well, it's almost 10 o'clock. You mean you haven't eaten yet?
My family's not about to have dinner tonight without you.
Don't tell me. The price of eggs has gone up, so we're going to raise chickens.
Hadn't thought of it, Brother Nick, but now that you mention it, it's a pretty good idea.
Plain to see neither you ever tried raising chickens.
The fruits of my labor, my boy, from a grateful client temporarily short of funds.
Well, now, what could be in these jugs? A little corn?
Aged red wine, if you don't mind. Oh. Much obliged.
Behold.
He's Nick. Well, that's a pig.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And these are chickens.
The spoils of the DeCenzo case.
You won it for him.
And against impossible odds. Believe me, I'd rather have these little trophies than $1,000
Oh,
fee.
I'm so glad for you. Oh, this is a telegram.
Oh, thanks.
Would you mind telling me what I'm to do with these?
I learned to love them, Brother Nick.
Jared, I'm so happy you won your case. What is it, Jared?
Don Gordon in Sacramento. Do you remember Keno Nash?
You prosecuted him.
Convicted him of murder. But he didn't do it.
Mistakes happen. They're ugly, but they do happen.
This little mistake cost him 9 years of his life. I was so positive he was guilty. But I can still hear him screaming at the judge, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
And threatening to kill you if he ever got out.
Bit of friendly advice, Mr. Barkley. It'll be better for everybody if you don't see the prisoner. Just leave a few dollars for him, whatever will ease your conscience, and let it go at that.
And just forget that an innocent man was convicted of murder. Is that it, Warden?
Keno Nash was an habitual criminal, a member of the Hounds, and there's nothing innocent about them. And he's been nothing but trouble the 9 years he's been here.
That doesn't change the fact that he wasn't guilty of murder.
Come in. Well, Nash, today's the day.
Do you think I'd forget you?
I was only doing my job. I've come to offer you any help you may need. I'll be leaving on the 1 o'clock train for Stockton. If you happen to decide you need a friend. What makes you so sure that this friend of yours in Stockton is going to be willing to help you get a fresh start?
Barney owes me a favor, too. When they bring the bucket around.
The what?
Drink of water.
There's a water cooler down on the end of the car. Why don't you go help yourself?
are you laughing at, you fancy Jude?
All right, now. All right, don't flood the whole car.
I'm a free man.
Keno, let him alone.
Well, here we are.
He'll think it's my ghost come back to haunt him.
Look, Keno, you'll probably want to buy him a drink or something and maybe get yourself a new suit of clothes. This will help out.
Oh, get out of there! You've ruined my picture.
Meg? Meg! It's Keno! Don't you remember me?
Oh, Keno! What are you doing here? How did you get out?
Well, they just found out I didn't kill that fellow, and they showed me the front door.
Why did you come here?
I come to see Barney. Where's he hiding?
He's in the churchyard.
How about Charlie? Charlie Trumbull, you ever see him?
Gone.
Joe Pritchard?
In prison. And so's Hawkins. O'Sullivan was hanged down in Mexico.
None of them left? None of the men from the river?
None of the hounds, you mean? What did you expect? 100 of the worst thieves and bullies that ever hit San Francisco. Oh, I remember. Take what you want and laugh at them that lost it to you. Burning boats on the river, unless you was paid to leave 'em be. Break a man's head for half a cent and a woman's heart for nothing at all. Taking and hurting and never thinking the day'd come when you wouldn't be the biggest and the strongest. Well, that's what happened to Barney. He got old and he picked a fight and got his ribs stove in. What did you expect? There's nothing left.
Keno, let's go.
She was always full of smiles, mischief in her eye.
Yeah. Well, 9 years changed things a lot, Keno. I guess people most of all.
Not you. I remember you from the trial. You ain't changed a bit. Not a whisker.
Keno, I'm not going to make any excuses for that trial. I believed you were guilty.
You were wrong.
You hungry?
My belly's growling.
Look, see that restaurant right over there, Canton Palace? Why don't you go on over there and get yourself some supper? I'll join you right after I check in at my office. We'll sit down and talk and see what you're going to do.
Hey, Dollar says he's fresh out of prison.
Yeah, San Quentin. You see that gray jacket he's got on? That's what they give you when you leave San Quentin.
What do you say, Yankee?
Yeah, it ain't none of your business anyway. Come on, let's drink up. Get that load of barbed wire back to the ranch before Nick comes looking for us.
Rum.
No rum. Whiskey or brandy. What do you like, please?
Give me the best you got. You wouldn't try to pass off a bottle of coffin varnish on me, would you?
Very good. Kick like a mule.
Barney, here's to you. Wherever you are. No, Sullivan, too.
What do you do? What do you do? No break a glass.
Leave that here. You want to smash things, mister. You come to the wrong place.
There's no harm intended. I'm going to pay for the glass. That was a drink for two old friends. I'd sure hate to see it spoiled by any trouble.
You don't cause any. You won't have any.
Fair enough. I've always hated to drink it alone. Let me buy you a drink.
No, thanks. I got my...
Bring your friends along. Bring another glass. Those friends, the ones I was drinking to, half alligator, half horse. Both of them, they had a hollow leg. Many a times when we would sit around...
Thank you for the drink, and thanks for having us over here. We don't like to drink alone either.
It's all right.
You come off the Mississippi, do you?
Yeah, I used to be. How'd you know?
Well, you was saying half horse, half alligator.
Well, that's what it took to work on the river. You fellas ever work on the river boats?
No. Well, I used to know a lot of them that did when I was growing up around San Francisco.
A lot of rivermen come west looking for gold. I never found a one that found any.
That's right. Then most of them had turned into being hounds.
That's right. It was better than going hungry.
You know, my mama used to run a boarding house in San Francisco. She had 6 hounds live in that house.
Well, I tell you, we hounds, we live very high. Must have been a nice place.
It was a nice place. Till they burned it down. And they killed my mama for the rent money. You know, my mama's life was worth just about $28. Now, maybe you better tell us where you got this money, Hound. You just take it easy, boy. I think...
Tell us.
Whose throat did you cut?
Back off, Jack. If there's any accusations, the sheriff will make them.
Well, that's just where we're going, boy. Come on, we
want to see the sheriff. Wait,
All right, move.
Here they are, Jared. All patched up, free to go.
We sure want to thank you for
Don't
squaring.
thank me. The fines and damages to that restaurant will come out of your pay.
It wasn't our fault, Mr. Barkley. When we saw that Frisco hound flashing all that money around, we figured...
You figured wrong. Now, the way I hear it, you acted like a bunch of self-appointed vigilantes. I'm ashamed to say you worked for me. Now get back to the ranch.
What are you gonna do, send me back to San Quentin?
He paid your fine so you wouldn't have to spend the night in jail.
Come on, Keno. We'll find a hotel room for the night.
Jared, do you realize what you're doing? Taking responsibility for that one?
Sheriff.
He's trouble. Nothing but.
Let's go, Keno.
Look at that. They used to lock us up at sundown. Quentin. First time in 9 years I've seen him. You got one of those?
One what?
Star. I've got one. Can't see it. Never have and never will. My ma used to say, Keno, you was born under a dark star. You was born into this world owing $2, with your neck already sized up for the hangman's rope. Your pa with his hand somebody else's cash box, and your ma a common woman. She used to say, Keno, you got a life of looking through prison bars ahead of you unless the Lord's gentle enough to let him hang you when you're still young. That's what she used to say. And she was right. She sure had the power.
Look who's coming.
Oh. I didn't hear anybody call quitting time.
Come on, Keno.
Terp, you get on that proud bar. I'll let you give him a hand. Well, welcome home, Jared.
Glad to be back. This is Keno Nash, my brother Heath. He's signing on.
Well, we got plenty of work for you. It's all right over there. The fellow that had that run-in with Yankee and the boys?
Yeah? Wasn't his fault.
As I understand it, the odds are 3 to 1. Let's hope he can handle those stumps as well. This is Keno Nash. You can pass out your names later. How would he say we get this stump pulled up?
Ain't this job enough? Without you asking us to work with a Frisco hound?
I ain't asking you, I'm telling you.
With all respect, Mr. Barkley, there's plenty of good men for hire without hiring a nobody that's bound to cause trouble.
Everybody in this valley got reason to hate the hounds.
Ain't never been a one of them any better than a wild animal.
Since when is the hiring on this ranch put up to a vote?
It ain't that, Mr. Barkley. It's just that...
It's just that we ain't about to go to work with no Frisco hound, that's all.
Jared, you got any cash on you?
Some.
Any man that wants to pick up his time, see my brother. All right, pick up your pay or get back to work.
Not much of a welcome, Keno. Better than a poke in the eye with a stick.
I've never been poked in the eye with a stick. Give him a hand with that stump.
Just keep him here with you this morning, and I'll try and find him something around the ranch.
All right. Sure you won't stay and pull a few stumps with us?
See you at the house. Let's go.
Yankee, come out here, will you? I want you to look over these traps. Fix any that need it, huh?
Them bears still plaguing the cattle up in the foothills.
That's right. That's why I want you to get on it as soon as possible.
And which first, the traps, that busted thrasher, shoes for your mother's saddle horse, or that windmill that's broke down over by the
Yankee,
new
if
plum
I didn't know
orchard?
you better, I'd say you were complaining.
The ranch is growing, boss. There's just more blacksmithing than my two hands can do.
Yankee, I'd say you need some help.
Oh, Jared, he...
And I think I've got just the man for him.
Come on, Keno. Let's get you settled in the bunkhouse, and I'll show you around.
Keno. How'd it go?
Wasn't much different than the rock pile.
Why, he did more work than any two men put together.
Keno, this is Yankee, our blacksmith. What would you say to going to work for him as his helper?
Mr. Jared.
Yankee would be more than willing to teach you the trade.
Guess we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. What do you say we forget and start fresh?
Got no quarrel with you.
Come on into the smithy. I'll take a look before you decide.
So that's what 9 years in prison does to a man, huh? I was in the courtroom the day the jury convicted him. Have you forgotten how wild he became when he heard that verdict? How he screamed. Screamed he'd kill you if he ever got the chance. Well, what? Kind of foolish, isn't it? Bringing him here. It's like putting your head in a lion's mouth.
Oh, he hasn't tried anything.
That doesn't mean he won't.
Nick, I helped rob this man of 9 years of his life. I figure I owe him. I need you and the family to help me repay him.
Can't very well say no, now can we? Well, I just hope it's never the choice of easing your conscience or saving your life.
Put your foot there. First thing you learn in this smithy is you do like I tell you. When I tell you. Now, step on the other bar and try to pull open its mouth. That's the hard way. I'll show you the right way. It ain't hard, Keno. It just takes knowing how.
Make you think you was back in prison, didn't it, Hound? Huh? Kind of jumped there. Sounded kind of like the jailer clacking his stick alongside the bars, didn't it? Huh?
No trouble.
Oh, I don't want any trouble either, huh? No trouble at all. But are you sure you don't want any trouble? Huh?
Have I got a choice?
Ooh. You got a real choice, Hound. You can stick around here where you ain't wanted. Or you can get out. Go on down the road.
You ain't gonna run me out with no axe handle, boy?
I wasn't thinking of doing that. I wouldn't try and run off nobody with an axe handle, least of all somebody's been hired on personal by Mr. Gerard. But I got to thinking, Hound, you know that jail could work against a man, you know? What I mean is that if things was to start happening around here that a person that's been to jail might get blamed for, well, that poor old soul could be right back behind the bars of San Quentin again, couldn't he? Huh? Ain't that right, Hound? Looky there, Hound. Kind of give you the willies, don't it, huh?
Miss Audra, sure is good to see you again.
Thank you. Came to see if you finished that collar for him.
Keno's working on it now.
Good morning, Keno. Do you like working here? You know, when I was a little girl, this was my favorite place. I'd pretend I was a princess, and the wicked king had locked me up in a deep, dark dungeon.
Who was the wicked king locked in the prison? Lawyer?
Jerry? Heavens, no. Why would you think that? You mustn't blame him for the mistake, Keno. It wasn't any more his fault than the judge or the 12 men on the jury.
What's it matter? What's done is done.
What's going on around here? See how it's been filed down? So it'll break apart as soon as you try to set it. The same thing with 3 other traps.
Well, what do you got to say? You deny you done this?
Keno, what possible reason could you have had?
You had no cause. No cause at all. Ain't I been fair with you? Ain't I been teaching you blacksmithing? Then why? Maybe you just wanted to see what you could get away with. Is that it? You pull a trick like this up at the prison, you'd be hauling iron for 6 months. You know what these traps cost? $11.
You ain't never carried iron on your leg before, you...
Keno. Put your foot up here. Do like I tell you. Put your foot up here.
Can you blame him?
He had no right to shame me like that. He had no right.
Keno, you mustn't.
I'm not sorry about them traps. They're mean, cruel things.
But necessary. The bears have been killing our cattle.
Well, then shoot them. Don't let them bleed their lives out in a trap. Would you put that puppy of yours into a trap? I wouldn't.
Would you hold him for me, please?
Scrawny little fellow, isn't he? You got a name?
No, not yet.
No. I had a dog once. Named him Bosco. A fine friend. He's better than most of them walk on two legs. I'll have his collar for you soon.
You know, Keno, I really haven't got the proper time to take care of him. What I'm trying to say is, I want you to have him.
Well, looky there where Keno hides out. Ah, Keno. Hey, you better watch out for that puppy there. What if one of them bales of hay should kind of fall off and crush him in his head? Huh? And on the other hand, he might get hold of some rat poison. Or maybe he'll walk over and fall in a horse trough and drown himself.
You touch a hair of this dog's head and I'll kill you.
Oh? You sure you'd want to, Hound? I ain't a woman.
I had nothing to do with your ma being killed. Sometimes a man's better off forgetting the harm that's done him.
You tell me how, yeah? How does a man forget seeing his mama lay face down in her own blood?
That's for you to do, boy.
That's just what I'm gonna do, Keno.
Who started this?
Him! Well, he's had a grudge against us ever since that fight in town. He jumped us without warning.
I warned you, Mr. Barkley.
What about it, Keno? Is that true?
What do you think?
When I ask you a straight question, I want a straight answer.
Go ahead. Call us liars.
Keno? I'm not finished with you. Nick, let him go.
All right, Jared. What are we going to do about him?
Fire him. Is that what you'd have me do?
I don't think you should have brought him here in the first place.
That's plain and simple.
Oh, now, come on,
Yeah.
Jared.
Jared, do you still believe you did the right thing, bringing him here?
What else could I do? I owe him. Something, a start, something.
Because you prosecuted him to the best of your ability?
I took 9 years of his life.
You were judge, jury, and all, huh, Jared?
Heath, if I didn't put out a hand to him, who would? The people in Stockton? Why? He was a hound, and all the hounds ever did was terrorize the storekeepers and pirate goods on the river. Or maybe I should have sent him to San Francisco. That would have been worse for him and them. He would have been completely alone.
You're all talking about him like he's some kind of animal, a stray to be picked up or let wander. He's a gentle man.
Why is he gentle? Because he likes dogs?
Well, the decision to bring him here is behind us. What now, Jared?
Give him time.
To do what? Fix bear traps?
To put 9 years of prison behind him.
Oh.
I never did like to drink by myself, remember? Look, Keno, I came to bury the hatchet. And also to inform you about something which I just overheard that really concerns you. I got to thinking there this afternoon about what you said. About a man being better off if he could forget the things that had been done wrong to him in the past. And that made a great deal of sense to me.
What'd you hear that concerned me?
Well, first, let me tell you. You know, you should know better than anybody about forgiving grudges and things that have been done wrong to you in past years. Because here you are working for Mr. Jared Barkley, and he's the very one that sent you up behind the walls at San Quentin for something that you didn't even do. Yet here you are right back working for him again. And also because you didn't have nothing to do with what happened to my mama.
I'd have hung those men myself, killing a woman.
Please, let's drink to that, and let's just forget what's done happened between us, okay? You know, don't be so suspicious. You know, you're suspicious of the wrong people. Come on. You're gonna need it, really, when you hear what I got to tell you.
Just what did you hear?
Please take a drink.
What did you hear?
You know, look, I don't think that I should tell you if you don't take a drink. I think it's only fair that way. That makes me feel more secure. Mr. Barkley's gonna send you back to jail.
He can't.
What do you think? He can't? But he can, and he will. Now, Keno, every one of us done heard how you threatened to kill Mr. Barkley in the courtroom. Now, Jared Barkley ain't one to leave loose ends untied.
I haven't done anything.
Of course you ain't done anything, but that didn't make any difference the last time, and that's what you said, too, and you was innocent. Now, Keno, you know where he's at right now? He's right up there in that big house, eating dinner with all them fancy people. And you know what he's doing, Keno? He's laughing at you. He's laughing at you. You know what I'd do if I was you? I'd go up there to that house and I'd cram that laugh right down his throat.
Just a minute. He said he was my friend.
I know he said he was your friend, Keno. But you know what's going to happen? It's going to be the same thing all over again. The jury's going to say guilty. You're going to go back to prison. You're going to go in the punishment box. You're going to go in the sweat hole, and then they're going to beat on you every day. They're going to whip you. And you know what you're going to be saying all that time? You're going to be saying, I had me a chance to get even with Jared Barkley, and I didn't do it. Now, you think about that, boy.
Take it easy.
You said you was my friend.
All right. I am your friend. Come on over here. Sit down. Right over here.
Watch
Watch it now, Keno. Watch it. I said watch it. Easy. Easy.
Lock him in the spring house.
Morning, Mother.
Morning. Sit down, Jared. We have a decision to make.
Oh? Looks like the jury's already reached a verdict. Pass the coffee, will you, Nick?
He tried to kill you, you know.
He was drunk.
You offering that for an excuse, huh?
An extenuating circumstance.
We know how you feel, Jared, but it just doesn't make sense to let him stay on.
We thought of getting him a job on another ranch, but that would only pass the problem on to someone else.
All right. What would you have me do? Swear out a complaint? Charge him with attempted murder? Send him back to San Quentin?
Could be murder the next time.
I thought we agreed to leave Keno to me.
Last night changed that, Jared.
Is it unanimous? Well, I vote no. There's got to be some way to reach him, and I intend to find it.
Keno didn't seem to be holding a grudge against Jared. I wonder what could have happened.
Fire, Bill.
Wrong with you? There ain't no fire.
What's going on?
The Frisco hound done broke out of spring house.
What are you talking about? I seen Keno not half hour ago.
Where was he?
Coming out of the barn with that pup tucked under his arm. Went on towards the old Foothill Road.
Come on, y'all ain't just gonna stand here and let Mr. Barkley go out and catch that hound by himself, are you?
What's this thing all about? What's Keno done?
He got drunk last night in the spring
How
house.
did he get drunk?
Don't look at me like that. You know it, I wouldn't give him no whiskey.
Maybe you did. That looks like the bottle of sour mash you bought in town last weekend.
Well, that's what I've been trying to tell you. He found it, he stole it, and then he got drunk on it.
Sure, everybody knows that Frisco hounds are thieves and liars, right?
Ain't that what I've been telling you all along? And don't last night prove it that he got the bottle after he stole it, he got drunk on it. And then he went in and he tried to kill the lawyer.
You put him up to the killing. I never thought you'd go that far.
That's a lie, what he's saying. That ain't true.
True, all right, Jack. You're a miserable excuse for a man.
I hope he finds him, and I hope they kill each other. Miss Barkley?
Listen to me, Keno. There's nothing to run from, and there's nothing to be afraid of.
You stinking liar.
All I want to do is talk to you.
Liar!
Keno, wait!
I'm not going back to prison!
Keno, nobody wants to send you to prison! Keno! Keno!
Keno! Keno, help me!
Keno! Help me!
Keno! Keno! That's just the way I seen it. They threw me in the punishment hole. I seen you with iron on your leg, just as it was on mine. And you begging for God's mercy and getting nothing back but the devil's laugh.
Then go ahead and watch. You paid enough for the privilege.
I believed you when you said you were my friend. I believed it. I was willing to forgive. I've been an animal for so many years. You made me want to be a man again.
Then forget the past. Help me, Keno. Help me.
I don't suppose you'd want to be seen having a drink with me in town. I mean, considering the company I used to keep.
Afternoon, Keno.
Honest wages. Mr. Nick said I earned every penny of it.
Well, Nick always says what he means.
Mr. Heath said he could teach me to write my name so I can sign the receipt book proper.
Bosco's certainly growing. He won't be a puppy much longer.
Keno! You coming or not?
Say, Keno, why don't you get the pup's picture taken? If you happen to be going anywhere near the photographer's shop in Stockton.
I just might. Ma'am? Miss?
Was that suggestion as innocent as it sounded?
Nope. The photographer's name is Meg, and she talks with a smile with mischief in her eye.
Why, Jared Thomas Barkley, Esquire.
Well, when you rejoin the human race, you rejoin the human race.